So we have got some more PJ Mask racing with Anki Overdrive cars today, but I want to look at ground shock here and Catboy conversion. As you can see, it just matches really well, both the decals on his arm and also the decals on the car. We think that Catboy would definitely choose to race in ground shock, but let's show you behind the scenes how we made this conversion. So we've got our ground shock Anki Overdrive car there with the decals on top, and of course we've got our Catboy official toy, and you can see how his lightning strikes on the top match the lightning strikes on the bottom. So we have his little character, we separate his head from his legs, we can then use a little bit of blue tack there. If you just get the right amount, you can get him to fix on top. It needs a little bit of a press, but then he is pretty firm and attached to the top of his car, and he starts looking like an Anki Overdrive Catboy racer. Now, but you can see here the blue tack is not very neat, so what we did was chop out a little bit of this card here, the right colour to match Catboy's decals and Catboy's outfit, and that can mask off the different bits of blue tack there on the top of Catboy's racing car. And of course, one thing at the back there, we have still got his tail, so his tail will come off as well, and we just popped a little blue tack bit on there, and you have what is really quite convincing Catboy racing car. And what's more, these robot cars, as you can see, race around the track at great speed. But of course, Catboy needs someone to race, and our next racer in line is Owlette. We've got her set up here on the Thermo car from Anki Overdrive. Whoops, we just pick her up. You can see that the plasticine, the blue tack that attaches her, needs to have a little bit more there just to make sure that that contact, give it a bit of a push, is really firm. When you're racing, you do want to make sure you have enough blue tack to keep Owlette in place. But let's show you how we made this. So here we are, we've got Owlette, our little posable toy. These are really good to use because the arms can be posed, because she's got her little cape and all that detailing. Now, we chose the Thermo car. If you're doing a mashup like this, you really want to choose the other toys which are a good colour match for your PJ Mask hero. And of course, Owlette is nice and red, and this Thermo car is nice and red too. And some of the details, the sort of swoosh of her little hat, her little cape on her head, as well as the swoosh on the cars, they match. So we just took off her legs and again popped a bit of blue tack underneath. Now that is important, you get the right amount there to form that connection between Thermo and Owlette. And again, you can see there around the collar where she meets the car, we make sure that she's got a bit of card there, just masking off that blue tack, because you wouldn't want to have blue tack obscuring Owlette's great racing. But once we'd finished this making, we went off into the garden and enjoyed Catboy and Owlette running around in our great PJ Masks outfits. But it caused a bit of a problem. While they're racing around, Owlette and Catboy wanted to know who was the fastest. Owlette thought she was much faster than Catboy. Catboy thought he was faster and certainly could climb trees and be like a cat and prowl around much better than Owlette. Whereas Owlette said, no, it's all about flying fast with your owl wings and getting to the scene of the crime first. So we set up a race to decide who was the fastest out of Catboy and Owlette. Here comes Owlette. She's going to get into her Anki Overdrive car Thermo. She hops and gets ready on the track. Now all we need is Catboy. Where's Catboy? Here he comes. Here comes Catboy down our racetrack. And when he gets into his car, we're going to do 3 races, 2 time trials, and then 1 head-to-head at the end to see who is the fastest of Catboy and Owlette of the PJ Mask heroes. So here we go. Here's a quick tour around our track, past the Gecko Mobile, the Catboy, the Owl Glider, around that home straight. And we're going to get Owlette started first. So count down with us.
3, 2, 1, go!
So away Owlette goes. You can see the time in the bottom right hand corner. She'll be setting the fastest time for 6 laps, and then Catboy will see if he can beat it. Now she is sticking to the inside line. That is a good way to get a fast speed around this Anki Overdrive track. Keeping it straight, keeping it true. Now the different PJ Masks Mini Plushies are also cheering her on, and she's nearing this last lap. Here she comes round. That's lap 5 done. Now have a close look at the time. What's it going to be? 26? 27 seconds and 42 tenths of a second is the time for Catboy to beat.
3, 2, 1, go!
Here goes Catboy. He is taking a wider line, but it looks like he has got a faster car because he's going down those home straights really quickly. Again, the Beanie Plushies are cheering him along, and Owlette is looking at that start-finishing line, perhaps checking he's not going to cheat. But he is setting a pretty good time. Now, we need to keep an eye on the laps. He's got a couple left now, and he's closing on Owlette. It looks like it's going to be really close for this final lap. 27 seconds, 42 tenths to beat. 26, 27. Oh, Catboy just came second at 28 and 22 tenths of a second. So really close on those one-on-one races. So Owlette has the lead going into our head-to-head 1 versus 1 race. So let's count down with us.
3, 2, 1, go!
So here they go, and yes, true to form, they are neck and neck, side by side, going around that back turn, coming down. Owlette has got that inside line cracked, so I think she has a slight advantage because she's not travelling quite as far, approaching this midway point of the PJ Masks race. And there's nothing to separate them. Look at them go. They're really chasing around this track now and coming into this final showdown of the last couple of laps on their one-on-one challenge. And here we go. And Catboy just takes it. If we rewind, you can see he just picks Owlette at the post. Phew. So we need to decide what to do. They've each won one race, but who is the champion? We'll have to maybe let Owlette and Catboy decide between them. So let's see what they do. Here they are coming around that back straight. Probably quite tired from all their racing. Both of them raising their arms in victory. But here comes Catboy. Oh, he's got a trophy. What's he going to do with this? He's given it to Owlette and he's giving her a round of applause. That is very nice, Catboy. So what we will do as Catboy and Owlette wave us off is have a bit more of an in-depth look at how we put this Catboy Owlette girl versus boy showdown together. Of course, here we have our PJ Mask heroes in the front, and you can see in detail each of them. They come in those packs with the vehicles and also buy them in double packs as well. And then behind here, as you can see, we've got our Anki Overdrive cars. Now, these are for a game called Anki Overdrive. Now, but you could use any cars. You could combine all sorts of different toys with your PJ Masks heroes to create your own kind of mashup. And we'd love to hear how you play with them. Will you be taking Catboy and Gecko and Owlette and mixing them up with some Lego, mixing them up with some Minecraft toys or some Terraria toys? There's really no limits to how you can play with these, just your imagination. So let's have a look at Gecko up close. It's important that you choose the right toy, I think, to combine, because you need that articulation and you need... Whoops! Gecko doesn't always stand up as well. I think his heads are quite big, a little bit top heavy. And again, you need to choose the toy that you combine with your PJ Mask hero carefully. Now, in Anki Overdrive, of course, Nuke is a really good fit, because I noticed, did you see that it has a Gecko lizard skin, lizard skin, I think, on the car already, which matches, of course, Gecko's lizard abilities and Gecko's sort of lizard pattern on his outfit, on his hood and his cowl, and also on the body. So there you go. Again, we need to work out how we can combine him, and we decided to separate his head from his legs, and that meant that we could just pop a bit of plasticine on the bottom and then join them together. So by popping him on, we can make a good contact between Gecko's base there, his little torso, and also the top of our Anki Overdrive car. And by connecting them together, we create a brand new toy. And what I like about this is that the PJ Mask heroes gain the abilities of those robotic Anki Overdrive cars, because of course they can drive themselves around the track, as you saw in our episode. When they're racing, they keep themselves on track, and you just use a little tablet or a smartphone to steer them around. But what you need to do is, once you've got that initial combination, is work out how you can make it look really good. So what we did was to get a little bit of green card here, because I noticed that the blue of the blue tack was showing through at the base where Gecko came into contact with Nuke. And by putting this little ring of green card around, we found some card that was the same colour as the PJ Mask hero and the toy. It gives a sense that these two toys were supposed to go together. And I think that attention to detail is important, because it really helps the imagination, and also it helps how realistic it looks. There you go, we can pop his hands down and you can see he's starting to look like a PJ Mask racer. But there's something missing on the back. Do you remember the bit that came off when we took apart his head and his legs? Of course, we've got Gecko's little tail, little waggly tail. And again, around the edge of the blue tack, we put a little collar to make sure that the contact between the car and the tail was spot on. So now, if you can see just poking up the back, there you go, we've got Gecko's waggly tail. And it's that little extra bits, I think, of making sure you use all your toys when you're combining them together that makes all the difference. So there you go, that was Gecko. But of course, we didn't only have Gecko, we would need to have racers. Now, which car, we were wondering, would go with Catboy? And like we said at the beginning, we had a look at Guardian here. There is some blue, a bit of silver, but it didn't feel like it was a close match. And by looking at different toys, you can see which is the best toy to match. And of course, Catboy is blue and Ground Shock is blue, but better than that, the lightning strikes on Ground Shock really match the lightning strikes on Catboy. It's as if these toys were made for each other, so it was definitely something that we thought we should better do. Now, separating Catboy from his legs again, keeping hold of the tail, we'll use that later, we'll show you how that comes into it. And again, a bit of force here. You might need some help from a grown-up just to get the contact between the blue tack, the PJ Mask hero, and the car. But again, you've got that little bit of messy old blue tack around the bottom where the figure meets the car, and if you just pop the blue tack, if you just pop the card around, you can of course see that it creates the sense that this is a proper toy. Almost looks like an official PJ Masks car, but of course it isn't. It's just one that we've made. Now, what's missing on the back? We said earlier, of course, and now we can bring it into play. This is Catboy's tail, and again, once you see his tail on there, waggling around as you go around the corners, it really feels like this is Catboy's own car, and certainly adds to that realism. Now, we've got one of our PJ Masks heroes standing around. Of course, Owlette could just fly and glide around, maybe just run really quick, but we want Owlette to be able to keep up with the other PJ Masks just as much. Again, she's a nice postable character. She's also got this little rubber cape on the back, which I really like, and it's pretty obvious which of our Anki Overdrive cars she would go with. It is, of course, Thermo. So Thermo and Owlette are a good match, not only because they're both red, but they have that sense of speed, sort of the cowl there on Owlette's top, and the design, the swoops of Thermo's car really work together nicely. So the first thing to do is to separate Owlette from her legs, and like I said before, you need to get some blue tack. Now, this doesn't feel like it's sticking all that well, and we need to make sure we have the right amount of blue tack, or it can potentially come unstuck. And you don't want that to happen while it's racing, but the cape there flying over the back, and again that little bit of card at the base shows you that this is like a real PJ Masks car. So there you go. If we remove the other cars, we have now just got our PJ Mask heroes in their car form, and I really like the way these look on our little turntable here, but I also really like the way they look in the race as well. If we just spin them around, you can see at the back there, you get a complete view of what we've made today with our PJ Masks car mashup. What I'd like to know is how you'd mash up your PJ Masks games. Do you take the HQ and do you add in different Star Wars toys? Do you add Minecraft? Do you add, I don't know, different Disney characters? My kids like to mix and match each and everything, and this is our attempt at matching up our toys with our little robot racing cars, and we had a great time racing as well. Of course, Catboy and Owlette, it turned out that they were really close. Catboy came second in the first race and then came first in the second race, and so they were all square. But of course, as you can see, he came over with his champions trophy and decided to let Owlette be the one to take it home, which I thought was really nice of Catboy. So there you go. We now look at Catboy's tail and his face, and a really close detailed look at each of these cars. We're going to be wrapping up this episode now, so do let us know in the comments what you think of our Anki Overdrive PJ Masks racing, and also tell us, what do you do to mash up your PJ Masks toys? How do you play with them at home, and do you make little movies too of how they've been on their own adventures? We love to see those when you share those with us. Now, you have a look at Gecko's tail behind, just sticking out, and then finally, last of all, we have Owlette. But I think that's all we've got time for today, so subscribe to the channel and we'll sure to have more on PJ Masks soon.